Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Baltimore Ravens, a team that I just saw literally a couple days ago. I had a trip out to Maryland and got to see quite a few games. One of them was the Baltimore Ravens, and I just got home last night. Today I'm doing the podcast. So I want to be able to talk about while it's still fresh in my memory. Before I get into talking about the experience, just want to go over a little housekeeping. If you would like to go on vacation, specifically a cruise, which is my specialty, or perhaps you'd like to go to a game, maybe you'd like to go see the Baltimore Ravens as well, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you with that. There's a couple ways that you can reach out to me. One of it is through social media. My handle for Instagram as well as Facebook is both the same, Jay's Paradise Travels. Jays. There's no apostrophe in there. Jay's Paradise Travels. You can reach out to me again through social media. Or if you want to email me, you can reach out to me through email. My email address is j.paradise_travels@gmail.com. That is jay.paradise_travels@gmail.com. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let me go ahead and tell you about my experience going to go see the Baltimore Ravens. This was part of a trip that I took, 4 games in 4 days. Went down to Maryland. Me and my dad, we drove down there. Got to go see the Maryland Terrapins on Saturday, the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, the Washington Capitals on Monday, and the Washington Wizards on Tuesday. Drove back home last night on Wednesday. Today's Thursday. And I wanted to, in this podcast, tell you about the Baltimore Ravens game. We got to go stay with some friends that we knew and went on vacation with back in April to Greece. It was nice to see them again. They live down in that area. They were nice enough to let us stay with them. Drove down there on Saturday. We went straight to the Maryland game. We didn't even stop at anyone's house or anything. We just went straight to the game and then went afterwards. That night, we stayed with them. The following day, on Sunday, was the day that we went to the Baltimore Ravens game. Got up and kind of chilled in the morning, and we were able to leave. I want to say we left probably in the morning, maybe 10:30 ish, 11 o'clock ish. Game was at 1. I wanted to give myself enough time to get down there. You never know with traffic, with parking, how things are going to go. And I want to give myself enough time to be able to do that, take some pictures outside, which I was able to do. We got there, and thankfully enough, the traffic going there was not too bad. I was pretty happy about that. It wasn't until we got kind of more into Baltimore that closer to the stadium, maybe within a mile or so, that we started getting some more traffic. And of course, I haven't been around there. I don't know where to park or anything like that. We kind of look around. We come across this one area. I want to say it was maybe like a hotel. They were charging $100 to park. We're like, nah, we'll pass on that. Went around, kind of looked around, came across this gas station that was on the corner of the street that we were just on, and they did it for half of that. They did it for $50. Like, all right, we'll just do it here. That's better than paying 100. So we did it there, and then from there it was just basically a beeline shot right to the stadium. As we went, at one point there was a bridge that cars were going over, and I thought we could just keep going, but it ended up from there we had to like kind of go to the right and kind of go around and then go towards the stadium, which we were able to do. And in doing so, we came across people selling merchandise, other fans, and they're parking, tailgating, throwing the football around. Normal stuff that you're going to see on a football game day as you're going to a game, heading to the stadium. So we do that, and from there, I'm able to be able to take some good pictures of the stadium itself, which is something I want to do. And we were there early enough. Now it's like, all right, well, we got some time to kill before we have to go to our seats. So we ended up walking around the stadium. In addition to taking the pictures that I was doing, um, we were able to walk around the stadium. You could kind of see Baltimore from there. I know my dad took a couple shots of that. There is I guess, some sort of train that kind of comes um, that you could, I forgot, it's not Amtrak, but whatever the line is, it comes like right there. We didn't take it, we drove in, but I guess that is something that you can do. That was right next to it. I could actually see the Orioles stadium when we went around to the other side, which I've been to an Orioles game before. And I remember years ago going to the Orioles game and being able to see the Ravens stadium across, thinking, oh, I would love to go to there one day. And years later, here I am finally getting to go and see the game there. Um, and they had some activities. There was some exclusive little area. I saw people playing cornhole toss. There were some cheerleaders in there. There was a big Connect Four. They were kind of not a ton of people were in there, but that was going on. They had this big team store there that I saw this humongous line, like it was a Disney ride or something. It was this humongous line to get into this big team store, and I saw people up on top. I think they had like maybe a bar, possibly a restaurant up there, but people were sitting down. So my guess was that at least drinks. Maybe they had food there too. And most stadiums are going to have some sort of activities that you can do that are around the stadium. I'm just not always there to be a part of it early enough. A lot of times I'm getting there and it's like either right to the seats or we just have enough time. Sometimes I'm even late depending on what's going on. But this one was there early enough to see it. I didn't really partake of it. Just kind of walked around. I didn't uh, do anything with it, like buy anything or get anything to eat or drink, but just walked around, got to enjoy being in the atmosphere. And then so we walked from one side to the other side, which we were now closer to where our seats were going to be. And from there, it was kind of some construction work. We could have kept going around if we wanted to, because initially we came in like at the southwest side, and I knew that because it had Southwest or Southwest Airlines, but it was also like the southwest part of the stadium too, so that just worked out conveniently. Because I think Southwest, their hub might be out of Baltimore, Washington International BWI. Um, so I guess it's just fitting for them. Anyway, so we walked around, but there was some construction work, so we didn't go around the whole way. We just were like, all right, we're here. We'll just go in now. I saw something called the Raven Walk. Um, I don't know if maybe players come in that way at some point or not. It's possible, but I just saw Raven Walk, whatever that means, or maybe there's just people who come in that way. I don't know. We also did see some statues too. One of them was Johnny Unitas. That was kind of cool, and the other one was Ray Lewis. Um, Obviously, uh, a Baltimore Ravens legend, who I got to see play too, not in person, but just growing up. I remember seeing him play. Um, yeah, so we got to see that while we were going around, and then we came in, worked our way up to the seats. We were up on the upper level. Um, Eventually found our seats, and what was kind of nice was like, I mean, this is November, right? We're in November 2025. Now up here in Michigan, where I'm at, it's a lot colder, but down in Baltimore, it wasn't as cold, and even to the point where like at the start of the game with the sun out, um, I actually took my coat off and I was just wearing this shirt, and I was comfortable in it. It was pretty nice. I was like, all right, I can be at a football game here in November with just a t-shirt. Cool. Well, that was nice while it lasted. Eventually, though, the sun went behind the clouds, and there ended up being this breeze, this wind that kept hitting us. And I'm like, all right, I gotta put the coat back on. It didn't stay like that forever, the whole game. It had its chilly moments, but then there was times that the sun would peek its head back out, and it kind of warmed it up again. So it kind of went up and down with it. Either way, it was nice not to. It wasn't like frigid, freezing weather. It wasn't snowing or anything like that. It was nice to be able to be at a football game outdoors in November and not have to have blistering cold type of weather that I had to deal with. It was, for the most part, fairly pleasant. I would definitely take that compared to what it could be. Anyways, um, so and that was that. And then after the game, we walked back to the car, and to get out of that gas station, we needed to kind of turn left, and there was a lot of traffic. What a shock! I mean, it's an NFL game; you're going to get a lot of traffic trying to get out, and it took a little bit of time for us to go left. But there was traffic cops that were doing it, and they kept letting everyone else in or go, I should say. And we almost got out, and then they stopped the car in front of us. I was like, oh, right, we were so close. But eventually they finally did. I could hear a guy in another car like yelling at the traffic cops. And they finally let us go. And then once we got out of there, we got onto whatever the highway is. I don't remember the number. And pretty much smooth sailing after that. Not a lot of traffic. So I was happy about that. So not a at least from my experience, not a difficult place to get in and out and go see a game. Which sometimes going to an NFL game, it can be difficult depending on that with traffic and parking. This was not that bad, and I appreciated that. So that was the experience. And then the next couple of days, we saw a hockey game and a basketball game. As regards the game itself, so the Ravens, at least this season, started off not hot. I think they were like 1-5 to start, and then won four in a row to go to 5-5. The Jets, they were playing the New York Jets, have had an awful season. They've only had a couple wins all year, and those wins were a little bit more recent. I think they may have even won. Did they win the two games coming into this game? It's possible. So, anyways, they not the greatest team in the world. And the first half was kind of a slugfest, really. I mean, no points in the first quarter. It was just defensively going back and forth. And it's like, all right, defensive game, sure, all right. And at halftime, the score was only 7-3. The Jets scored a touchdown. Baltimore had to kick the field goal. That was all we had in regards to offense. I'm thinking, okay, not going to be a super high scoring game. And that's all right if it isn't, it isn't. But, you go to a game, you want to see a lot of points, a lot of scores. At least I know I do. I like it. My dad definitely does. But by the end of that half, Baltimore finally was starting to come to life a little bit um, in regards to their offense. Lamar Jackson was in, but he had been hurt this year, so you can see maybe not 100%. And for the Jets, Tyrod Taylor was replacing Justin Fields. I guess he got benched. Um, and Baltimore had kind of I guess you could say, a slower start, but they started picking it up a little bit, and it kind of carried off into the second half. In the third quarter, they scored a couple touchdowns. Um, I believe it was Derrick Henry. He had at least two rushing touchdowns. So they kind of pulled ahead. They got the lead and pulled ahead there in the third, and then continued scoring in the fourth as well. And the final score ended up being 23-10. The Baltimore Ravens beat the New York Jets to continue on their winning streak, and now they're at 6-5. This is just currently at the moment. This, of course, will change here in the next few days or so, but they're currently 6-5. They have a five-game winning streak, and they're number one in their division. Because at the same time, the Pittsburgh Steelers had lost to the Chicago Bears, which they kept showing that score and highlights of it on the scoreboards, and fans were going nuts about it. Obviously, they're a rivalry. Plus, the fans want their team to be number one in the division, and rightfully so. Um, so, hey, good for them. And the Jets lost another one. I think they're now 2-9 on the year and having a rough go of it, but that happens. That was the game. Yeah, Baltimore won 23-10, and good for the Ravens. I was a Ravens fan for a day. Good for them. As regards to the stadium itself, as I said, I had seen the stadium before um, from a distance. I remember seeing it in a movie before, so it's kind of cool to be a part of it in person, as always. We were sitting on the opponent's side, and I thought it was very, how do I put this? It was very symmetrical. Like I feel like the things that I saw on one half of the stadium, I would also see on the other half. Um, Round, and they had both scoreboards kind of the same length, I guess you could say, the same size on both sides. Um, and then the ways that each corners were exactly the same on all four, from what I could tell. So it seemed like it was very symmetrical, um, which is not, you don't always see that. That was cool, I guess you could say, to be able to see. And as always, just it's cool to be a part of that. Um, I think we ate beforehand, so I didn't get any food there to know like how the food is. Um, but it's nice. And then I think when I looked it up, it said the capacity was 71,000, uh, and the attendance was 70,000. As I looked around, I could see a pretty full stadium. Not every seat was taken, but a good portion of it was. And so I could see where that could be the case. Um, yeah, and just some miscellaneous things. I thought it was kind of cool that Michael Orr was there. They showed him. I can't remember if it was during halftime that he came or at some point just in a stoppage. But if you don't know who I'm talking about, Michael Orr, if you've ever heard or seen the movie The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock, um, it was about uh, this family adopting basically this like homeless kid that and kind of took him in, and he was a real big guy and ended up getting to play football, and it was kind of the story of that, and he eventually made it on the Ravens. That was him. So he was there. Got to see him in person. That was kind of cool because I've always enjoyed that movie ever since it came out. I mean, yeah, I guess it's been a while since it's come out. Now, come to think of it. Um, but yeah, that's where he played. He played for the Baltimore Ravens. Majority of his career, he may have been traded at some point or left and went somewhere else at some point later on. But the majority of his time was in Baltimore. So it was kind of cool to see him there. Um, they did have a lot, and I mean a lot of CGI Ravens type of stuff on their scoreboards in between, um, in during TV timeouts and whatever. A lot of stuff. The Ravens are, I think they're like named after the Raven from Edgar Allan Poe, that poem, or is he a poet or writer, whatever he was. I'm not humongous in the literature. It's either a book or a novel or a poem. It's something like that. But anyways, named after them. Maybe he was from Baltimore. Not entirely sure the whole ties with that. Um, but it had that kind of creepy feel to it, and I think maybe that was on purpose. Almost like if you were to that creepiness that comes sometimes at like Halloween time. That's kind of what it seemed like. And we're past Halloween, and now it's like Thanksgiving, right? So it's not like it was doing it for that holiday. It was just, I think that's just kind of what they intended to do, maybe to be kind of like intimidating to the other team or something to that effect. Um, so we saw a lot of that, but I mean, to a degree, it's kind of cool. Uh, that they're gonna to try to make that a little bit more intimidating, a little more scary. What other kind of things were kind of cool? Did get to see. I was there at the beginning. Now Ray Lewis, he always had like his signature way of coming in, and they made the statue of him doing that. And then they brought in. I guess they still do it. They'll announce individual defensive starters. I was there early enough to be able to see that. The team comes out, then they form a line, and then some individual players come out behind them. And uh, I think who did I can I remember? Kyle Hamilton. He got injured in the game, but I think he was one of them, amongst some others that they announced. That I recognize the name, I just can't think of it at the moment. Um, yeah, but it was a nice day all in all. I enjoy being able to go to a football game there. As always, catching a game live is to me a highlight, and being able to see a new stadium, check it off the list is really cool. And amongst that trip, I mean, it's Baltimore. I got to eat some crab. We stopped at a restaurant, had some crab cakes. Those were real delicious. And that was one thing I remember going to Baltimore before when I was little. We have friends there. We did get to meet up with a couple that hadn't seen in like, I don't know, 20, 30 years or something like that. It was nice to be able to catch up with them. We went to a restaurant, and I do remember as a kid, we went to Baltimore a handful of times. In fact, my dad and mom lived in Baltimore when they first got married for a little while. I forget how long, a year, a couple of years, whatever it was. Um, so my dad has some ties there, and some friends that he's known for a long time. We tried reaching out to some of those other friends, but for a variety of reasons, they couldn't make it, which is understandable. That's fine. Um, but I've always had memories of going to Baltimore growing up at different times. Little, and I say little like a four, maybe not that little, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. And then up a little older, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17. We went a handful of times. And in those times, I remember going to the harbor, which was kind of cool. I remember seeing the Baltimore Orioles stadium as a little kid, and thinking I think I got even like a Baltimore Orioles baseball. Um, Not that it like got knocked out of the park and I caught a ball or anything. Although that would be pretty cool. I would have loved that as a kid. But no, I think I just got like a souvenir baseball somehow. Um, but I remember back then thinking like, oh, that'd be cool to go to this game. And this was as a little kid. I didn't have the hobby yet. But that was eventually what kind of led into it. And years, I don't say years later, but as I got a little older, I want to say, oh, how old was I? 13, 14, something like that. We went down there and we were visiting some of those friends that I mentioned. And the Tigers were in town. I think it was the last game of a three-game series, and I kind of had a desire to go. And our friends were like, "Yeah, it's a nice night. Why don't you go to the ball game?" So me and my dad went. It was my first time ever going to a game outside of Detroit. Not that at that point I had gone to a ton of games, even in Detroit, but some. But that was my first time experiencing going to a game on the road, and had a blast. And I remember it was a 2-1 Tigers lead going into the ninth inning. Tight game, got to enjoy a tight game, and then in the ninth inning they blew it open with 4 runs and to made it 6-1, um, and ended up winning that. I remember that. I was like 13 or 14. I remember that from 20, 30 years ago, however long that it was. I'm not going to do the math at the moment, but I remember that, and that was my first ever. My dad went with me. Then he took me. He seemed to have a good time. We both had a good time with it, and years later, it's become my hobby, officially my hobby. Back then, I didn't have a camera, so I did have to eventually go back to the Orioles stadium, which is Camden Yards, um, to be able to see a game and take pictures of the stadium because I didn't have that wasn't it wasn't a hobby back then, and I didn't have a camera. Now it's officially my hobby, and I need a camera to go. So I did eventually do that, but throughout that time, I was able to see the Ravens stadium. Well, maybe not that first time. I don't, were they around back then? When did they come into existence? Maybe. I don't remember. But at least that second time, I do remember seeing that stadium from afar. And now, hey, now I got to say I've officially seen it. Now, both teams in Baltimore I've seen. I've seen the Orioles and the Ravens. This podcast is about the Ravens. Even though I'm mentioning the Orioles, but that's kind of because Baltimore is kind of where it started. Like I said, I've gone to Baltimore multiple times in my life, and it is a nice city. If the Baltimore is where you like to go, let me know. If you'd like to go see a Ravens game, let me know. And of course, if you'd like to just go on vacation, Baltimore or anywhere else, specifically cruise, which there are cruises that go out of Baltimore. Royal Caribbean goes out of Baltimore. In fact, me and Selena are scheduled to go on Royal Caribbean in January, and we were going to go in December with some friends, but they couldn't make it, so we ended up figuring out going to a different one instead. And we almost went with going out of Baltimore out to Bermuda on Royal Caribbean, but we ended up booking one of their newest ships, Star of the Seas, in January, which I look forward to going to that here in a couple months. So they do have cruises out of Baltimore too. So if you like to go to Baltimore for a cruise, for a game, anything else, or any other vacation, any other cruise specifically, you can reach out to me. Again, feel free to email me if you'd like at j.paradise@gmail.com. That's jay.paradise@gmail.com. You can reach out to me and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Or you could reach out to me through social media. Instagram and Facebook are both the same, Jay's Paradise Travels. It's Jays. There's no apostrophe in there. Jay's Paradise Travels. I also got some pictures of the games as well. Feel free to go in there, message me, and be more than happy to, again, help you out with that. I'm trying to think if there's any. I have no notes. This is all kind of just based on memory since it's so fresh in my mind. That is one thing I do like to do. A lot of these podcasts, I'll write down notes because it was so long ago. I need to think about all those different things I want to bring out. And I'm sure because most of the time, every time after I've recorded an episode or podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and I'm really just one and done. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and I don't feel like re-recording something, even if I forgot something. If I forgot something, oh well, I can mention it later, maybe if we end up talking. Um, but yeah, when it's so new and fresh in my mind, the excitement can come out even more readily because I just went to go see it and I can still see it so vividly in my mind and think about how it felt to be there and everything else. So when I can do it just fresh, just raw like this, I like to be able to do it. Um, Yeah. So yeah, if this sounds like something that would be appealing to you, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do it. It help you out with it. That is. Anyways, I can't think of anything else at the moment. Again, after I'm done with this, I'll probably think of, oh yeah, I could have mentioned this. I do, even though I don't have notes. I'll pull up the pictures, just to see if there's anything else that would jog memory with her, my mind. I pulled up the stadium just to see what the capacity was. It's called M&T Bank Stadium. I'm not sure how long that name has been there. Um, it could have been something else years ago. It's very possible that it may have been. I'm trying to see if there was anything. But that's what it is right now. A bank that I've never heard of, never used, never will use. It is what it is with these stadiums, these financial institutions or insurance companies that get the names of them, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, whatever. Okay, all right, but yeah. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you learned something from it, took something away from it. If you did, please rate it, give it a like, hit that subscribe button, um, share it with your friends, family, especially since more than just a video on YouTube or a podcast that you listen to, this is a business of mine that I'm trying to get my name out there. I'd love to be your travel agent or your family or friend's travel agent for anything that you'd like to go on. Try to make this world a happier place, one vacation at a time. So please feel free to share, like it, all that good stuff that podcasters need to keep their podcast going, and a travel agent who's trying to continue to build his business and get his name out there to everyone else. So thank you again for listening, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.